Who amongst us does not appreciate the allure of the West? But unlike an area that's thousands of miles away, 45 minutes from Wrightsville Beach, we have a neighborhood known as Kingbird. Huge parcels of land that are open and ready for development. Amongst areas of land that are of commensurate value with folks that appreciate the same things that you do: freedom, flexibility, and the ability to use your land in your own way. Well, I'm here to guide you through the process of how would we explore the possibilities of using that land. The process is called Imagine, Build, and Live. So we will imagine with you, we will build for you, and then you will live your life without regret. I need my cowboy hat on when I ask you this question. So you bought this land, and now you want to figure out how to bring your dreams to life. Well, our team can help you visualize those dreams, starting with master planning. Whether it's an equestrian estate, a modern retreat, or just a ranch-style home, we'll guide you through that process and make sure we maximize usability and privacy of the land that you've acquired. And then from there, we'll seamlessly move into construction with our master craftsmen, putting together a home and an estate that you can be proud of. And when it's all done, we'll help you service it for the long term with our estate management team. So come along with me as we describe the initial part of the process, which is that master planning phase in Kingbird.
Master planning starts with listening. It's the first thing we do with every client. We listen to the site, analyzing the context, analyzing the winds, the sun, the topography. And then we listen to the client. We listen to their vision. We listen to their dreams. And then we take those things and we put them together to start to develop the overall master plan, how the client can plan for the future, for multi-generational living, for different structures, what their one-year process is going to be, what the 5-year plan is going to be, what the 10-year plan is going to be. We take all that and we fold it into design options the client can then review, take home, digest, and then implement.
So at the Kingbird Ranch, we have a design master plan for a couple of our clients that we're going to share with you. So we took the approach of zooming out at the overall site, establishing the boundaries of our properties that we've combined. And like you said, the first step to our analysis is the site, overall site plan analysis. So we're establishing here that we have the prevailing winds from the north in the winter and from the south in the summer. We've overlaid our sun path analysis, our sun path diagram. And this helps us establish the areas of the site that are protected from the sun, so we can identify those pockets of space that are ideal for locating buildings that are not overexposed. And also on our site plan, we have highlighted those areas of the site that have the higher topography to raise the buildings out of potential flood zones. We also take a pass at putting together mood boards and inspiration images that are projects that speak to us, that show materiality, light, space, and those types of buildings that open up as you host family gatherings and events. We've looked at projects that traditional forms, but also employ contemporary moves to make them feel more modern, and they can open to the landscape.
Part of the program is understanding very technical aspects of program. If they want riding rings, if they want stables, how many horses do they have? How many paddocks do they need? How many loafing sheds do we want to design? All those things will influence early design process, and we'll implement those as we go through each step of the project.
So in this particular scheme, Kingbird Ranch, our mood inspiration was something that was casual and approachable, something that spoke to the language of the site. And we wanted to embrace and highlight those features of the site by our own moves, but also respecting the landscape that's there. So with our site analysis, we identified those pockets of space on the site that felt like opportunity moments, places that were sheltered from the sun, but also high elevation points on the site as well. First thing we did was we located the primary residence on the most ideal spot in the site, with the creek beyond and a high point of topography in the middle of the site. Next, we located the riding ring and the stables, where the client will have their horses and space to train them as well. We also located the hitching post and equipment shed, which are the family's gathering point on the site. So that's where people will ride their ATVs, ride their horse, get together, hang out, and enjoy the property together. We also located 3 guest houses on the site, with the largest on the top corner of the site in its own pocket. The next thing we did was we overlaid roads and pathways that connected all these buildings, and we established a primary entry, a secondary entry, and a third access entry to the stables. And this has created a loop around the site that we felt connected the buildings, but also gave each building its own privacy and pocket within the site. We overlaid bridges where we're crossing over creeks or through natural elements on the site, such as clusters of trees. And then we proposed man-made landscape elements such as a lake and additional planting to further enhance the landscape that's already there. We located loafing sheds around the site so that the pasture land can sprawl out from the stables, and the horses, cows, and whatever livestock can get a step out of the sun or have a dry place to eat when it's raining. We've connected all the buildings on the site with riding trails, so through the woods, across creeks, over bridges, and that makes this entire site feel more connected and more activated. And then we've defined our property line with a fence and those entry gates at each of those 3 points. And our inspiration for this project is casual, approachable, and connected with the landscape. So we have gates that reference that. We have casual riding trails and the lake reference. The architecture is understated and low to the ground. The buildings sprawl out and open up to the landscape, and they also work with the landscape to draw natural ventilation through the open spaces and provide deep overhangs for shade in the summer. The stables and riding ring are a key feature in this site. So we have large open structures for riding in the summers, so it's covered space, and then we have large pasture that sprawls out for the horses and cattle to graze. Like I said, the hitching post and the equipment shed are the gathering space, so these are structures that open up to host many people. There's going to be amenities such as pools, kitchens, areas to watch movies, and the equipment shed is a central part of that too, where all of your ATVs, your tractors, all of that can be stored in a place that's accessible for everyone. The guest houses all speak to the language of the site and of the other structures, so our material palette is very similar and applied in a way that all the buildings are related, but also each building has its own personality. And so the overall site master plan has come together in a way that builds on the landscape that's already there and enhances it, and then establishes a multi-generational, multi-family compound where people can come and enjoy what we have to offer.
The second scheme, Kingbird Garden, is a scheme based off of organization around the landscape, but using the landscape to control views and create privacy. We also created a similar mood board, but what you'll see here that's a little different is a little more organized approach to landscape with alleys of trees, controlling views in the meadows, and doing it with both hardscape and softscape, fencing and landscape. We did the same thing. We took the overall site plan and we began to impose some axis on the site plan. The different approach here is, instead of using the original topography and entrance coming through the creek, we said, let's go ahead and create our own axis, the main axis coming into the site, for a really long view to the stables and to the riding ring. That's going to give us a long view to the most public part of the whole estate. And then we're going to cross that axis with a perpendicular axis where we can put more private functions, which is the main home and the hitching post. Then we'll overlay the guest homes, and we'll overlay the equipment shed, also with our own private locations off the main axis, and the largest guest house on the northwest side of the site furthest away. We did the same thing, then we overlaid the roads and access. We created a main courtyard in the middle. We created a long view looking at the stables and the riding ring with a bridge over it, and then a secondary entrance over the creek and a service entrance coming in behind the stables. And then we took our landscape and said, let's really organize the landscape and control the views. And what we did was we created alleys of trees that line the main entrance, framing the view of the main riding ring and the stables. And then we also created alleys of trees framing the view from the main residence to the hitching post. Really just trying to use the landscape to control the views and introduce as much natural vegetation back on site as possible. All the time maintaining recognition of view corridors from the homes. We also defined the pastures. We also laid out the loafing sheds, very similar to the first scheme. They all sweep around the south side of the site for the best exposure and provide clear access from the stables to the best grass pastures. And then we defined some trails, riding trails through the site, around the perimeter, and then through the creek, which is one of the best features of the site. And then in a similar way, we looked at the architecture. We show inspiration images for the hardscape architecture of the landscape, the bridges, alleys of trees. And then similar to the first scheme, we're looking at natural materials, natural stones, clay, tile, things that complement the landscape and don't compete against it. Then we look at precedent for the riding ring, for the stables, also using those natural materials, but also trying to frame the views from inside to outside and outside to inside. And then creating an opportunity to hitching post to be indoor and outdoor living. And using that same architectural style through all the small buildings around the estate, which gives us the second scheme, which is more organized, more controlled, and certainly a more formal approach to landscape design.
So once you've identified your land at Kingbird and you want to figure out what your way is, come to us and we'll help you visualize your dream on that parcel. I'm Mark Batson with Tongue and Groove Design Build in Wilmington.
And I'm Matt Petter with Craft Architecture and Interiors. We're here to help when you're ready.